Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here, and we are back with another solo playthrough of Zombicide Black Plague. As before, I'm using a party of 4 survivors because I haven't painted any new ones. That means I get to divide up the 6 starting pieces of equipment amongst my 4 heroes. So we have Silas with a short bow and a short sword, Baldric with monoblast and a short sword, Nelly with just a short sword, and Samson with a hammer. It would have been nice to have been able to double up on those short swords, let someone dual wield, but I always like to have characters with at least one thing that can open a door. As always, I'm using Warhammer Fantasy models instead of the standard Zombicide models because I have these guys painted, but if you really need to know, zombies are acting as walkers, ghouls are acting as runners, Nurgle Plague Bearers are fatties, necromancers are necromancers, and this big spawn thing is the abomination. And since we still only have 4 survivors, that means we gotta go looking around for another scenario that only uses 4 heroes. That means today we're going with Quest B20, The Final Defense. This is another one of those free downloadable scenarios you can get online from CMON's website. Final Defense is kind of an interesting one. I've decided that my group is going to be called the Plagsburg Petitioners. We're a group of heroes that survived the initial zombie apocalypse, and we're just trying to go from town to town warning the local governments of what's happening. We're going to file motions at their town council meetings. We're going to petition the local leaders. And we're just going to try and get ahead of this rolling tide of undeath. Unfortunately, this time we're a little bit too late and we get to a town just as a big horde of undead are about to crush it. So we have to set up a safe zone in the middle of the town square and keep the town safe by setting up barricades in these zombie spawn zones. So what do I like about this scenario? Well, to start with, the map setup is a big plus. Do you get it? It's because the map is shaped like a big plus. A kid of one of the gaming group told me a variation of that joke about the flag of Switzerland. You're welcome. Anyway, at the end of each of these streets, there's a zombie spawn zone. In the center, there are these sealed buildings. Inside each of those sealed buildings is an objective. Taking an objective gives the hero that picked it up 5 experience points, and they hold on to it from then on. They can even trade it like a piece of equipment. If you're holding an objective in the same zone as a zombie spawn zone, you can discard the objective, get yourself another 10 XP, and you seal off that spawn zone. We win as soon as all 4 spawn zones are removed. And just to make things extra spicy, as the final special rule, when our heroes get to the red danger level, they get all 3 red level skills instead of just picking 1. I think that's to simulate that this is a desperate last stand, and once you get to that level, there's going to be monsters coming at you from all directions, and things will get real crazy, and we all go into epic hero mode at that point. Anyway, that's my guys in the dead center of the board. You'll notice that we actually ran out of door tiles, so not all the buildings are accessible. We're also going to try something a little different this game. I've listed my characters at the bottom of the screen. The number indicates how much health they have remaining. The color indicates their current level, so blue, yellow, orange, red. We'll see if that helps keep things straight as I go on. So what I think I'm going to do as an initial strategy is I'm going to open up that big room in the top right. Might as well sort that out while I'm still at the blue experience level. Then I'm going to try and, as quickly as possible, seal up the 2 zombie spawn zones on the extreme left and right. They're the ones that are closest to me, so they're the most dangerous. The ones on the top and bottom, the zombies are going to take a little longer to get to me, so I think I can hold off on those a little bit. There are a couple problems that I foresee with this strategy. Number 1, it doesn't give me a lot of time to get equipment. Number 2, sealing spawn zones will increase my experience level pretty quickly. So even though I'm reducing the places zombies come from, the zombies that come out of the north and south spawn zones, there'll be more of them and they'll be more dangerous. And finally, it's occurred to me that there's no vault in this campaign, no way of getting those artifacts, which I've been leaning on kind of heavily in my previous games. So we'll see how I do without them. So it's my first turn, and I'm going to start off with Samson the Dwarf. Samson is going to move north 1 zone, and he's going to try and open up that door. He fails on his first attempt, but succeeds on his second, which isn't too bad. I've decided that the way to spawn these rooms is to start with the rooms that are furthest back. That means when I go up experience levels, it becomes less likely that I spawn in that first room and then activate them with a later spawn. It also makes it slightly less likely that I'm going to spawn in that first zone and then in that last room get a double spawn, which means I end up with a triple spawn in the first room. So I'm going to start with the furthest back room. I start with 2 walkers, which is fine, and then I get an abomination right off the bat again. So that top room over there gets the big beastie. Okay, that's a bit of a problem. It means I can't just hang out in that room gathering equipment. It means that I can't use that area as a shortcut to loop around any monsters coming from the left. It means I'm going to have a big scary monster chasing me this whole game until I find some dragon bile. But that's okay, we got some early pressure. We'll see what we can do with this. The next room down spawns a single walker. The next room over on the left gets me a double spawn. So that means on that final first room, I'm going to get a walker and a fatty. That's not great. Samson had my hammer. How am I going to deal with that guy? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to activate Silas. Silas moves north one zone and he takes out his short bow and he manages to shoot dead the walker in that room on the left. That's not so bad, but I've got one more action and nothing great to do with it. Just because I'm there, I'm going to turn around and try and open up that room on the right. See if it works. It does. I roll the 4+, make another noise, and we spawn in that room and just get a single walker. Okay, that room we can do something about. I'm going to activate Baldric next. He's going to move north one zone. He's going to use his free spell action to shoot Mana Blast at the walker, and he misses, creating a big noise but nothing else. He spends his second regular action to shoot again missing, but he kills it with his third action. That then clears the way for Nelly, who moves forward with her free move action, then moves into that room, grabs the objective for 5 XP. I take this moment to search the room and I get apples, which doesn't really help, and then I move back to rejoin the rest of the group. Zombie turn. The fatty goes and moves into our zone. The rest of the monsters all creep forward their one space. As for spawn, starting with the north, we get ourselves one fatty. Then in the east, we draw nothing, which is cool. The south gets one walker, and the west gets a double spawn. So back up to the north, we spawn an additional fatty and a walker. That north is a bit of a problem, but on the plus side, the west and the east are completely clear, and those are the places that I wanted to go to. So maybe that's not so bad. So back to the heroes, and our number one problem is this fatty in our zone. So we're going to start with Samson because he has the hammer. He swings it once and misses, which doesn't help, but on a second shot he manages to bash its head in. He only has one action left, so I move him down to the dead center because I think that's where my guys are going to end up. Silas is up next. He takes out his bow to try and kill off that walker in the room with the objective, but he misses with his first shot. Only misses on a 1. Still manages to not hit. Anyway, his second shot kills off that walker for another XP and clearing the way to that objective, which of course he can't get to, so he just moves south to join Samson. Since Nelly already has an objective, I'm going to go with Baldric next. He's going to move into that room, grab the objective, 5 XP for him, and just for the heck of it, since he has a free magic action and he's one zone away from those zombies over there, just gonna take a casual blast with the Mana Blast. Well, he manages to hit and kill a zombie, which is cool, but that brings him up to 7 XP, and now he's in the yellow zone. Didn't really think about that. So instead of moving just one zone east to be out on the street, now he's got 2 actions and he can move down to the center of the grid. That's not bad, that's okay. Back over to Nelly, and I think I want to keep all my guys together. I don't want her running off on her own to try and seal up one of those zombie spawn zones. So instead, she's going to move back into that room on the right, and she's going to search. She finds a repeating crossbow, which I guess is okay. Anyway, because of her free move action, she can still move twice more to get to the rest of the party. Zombie turn again, and all the bad guys shamble forward. Abominations almost made it out onto the street. Go to the spawn phase, and not helping things, we get an extra activation for all walkers. I was not aware that that happened on yellow. For some reason I thought that was the kind of thing that came out once you got to the higher experience colors. So all the walkers put on a little burst of speed. In the east we spawn 1 fatty, the south gets 2 walkers, and the west gets another double spawn, 2 in a row. So back up to the north and we get 1 more fatty and 4 walkers. The north is a problem. Back over to my guys, we're going to start with Nelly. Got another opportunity, again because of that double spawn, no monsters off to the left. So Nelly, with her free action and 2 normal actions, is going to go 3 spaces over to that spawn zone. As a free action, uses the objective that she has in her hand to seal the spawn zone, removing it from the board. That gives her 10 XP and brings her up to yellow, meaning she's got a whole extra action to do, which uses to move 1 space to the right and closer to the group. Silas activates next. He shoots dead the zombie immediately to the north, giving us a little bit of breathing room, and then moves 2 zones over to the right. Samson moves 3 zones to the east to stand right in front of that fatty, taunting him. Baldric follows him. He has one extra action because he went up to the yellow experience level, so he uses a trade action to give Samson that objective. I want Samson to seal that east spawn zone, give him the XP, get him to yellow. I don't want Baldric getting too high in XP. Plus, Samson, because of his abilities, he just tends to level up slower. Zombie turn again. Abomination comes out onto the street, and the rest of them in the north and south creep towards me. The north gives me a double spawn, which is exactly what I didn't want. So over in the east, the place I really want to get to, we go and spawn another fatty and 3 more walkers. The south gives us another 3 walkers, and in the west we get nothing, because we've sealed that spawn zone and it's gone. Back to the heroes, and I'm going to start off with Silas. Silas moves into the zone, one to the right, to rejoin Samson and Baldric. He then uses his bow to shoot into that spawn area, manages to kill off 2 of the walkers, makes things a little better. I'm going to activate Baldric next. He's going to use his mana blast again to shoot into the spawn zone, kill off that last zombie. Been rolling pretty well with Baldric. That mana blast only kills on 4+. But he's not done being awesome. He then activates a trade and he goes and takes the hammer from Samson. He's going to clear the path for the dwarf. So that was his first normal action because the spell action is free. He swings with the hammer, kills off the fatty in our zone, moves into the spawn zone, swings again, kills the other fatty. 3 rolls of 4+, 3 kills for Baldric. Nice job. After that show of strength, Nelly is going to move a total of 5 spaces over to the east to rejoin the group. She gets there in time to see Samson move 1 space forward. Closing the spawn zone is a free action for a nice 10 XP, bringing him up to yellow. So now he just trades with Baldric, gets his hammer back, cleans off the zombie brains, and still got 2 actions left now that he's in the yellow experience zone, and moves back to where Nelly is. Back to the zombies. I've changed the camera angle since we don't have to worry about the west anymore. The north gives us an extra fatty move, which would have been a real problem 1 round ago, but now it's not so bad. The south gives us 3 walkers, nothing in the east and west, but that abomination is right in the middle, forcing us to rethink how we're going to get to those last few spawn zones. New hero turn, and we're going to start with Nelly. Nelly moves to the back door of that southeast central building. She then proceeds to fail to open the door twice, but finally knocks it open with her 3rd attempt. So again, I start with the room furthest away, and I get a necromancer. Necromancer always spawns with a buddy, so I draw another spawn card, and I get another necromancer card, so he just walks forward 1 zone. On its turn, that front room spawns 1 runner to keep the necromancer company, and with Nelly's last action, she just chills. She doesn't need to walk into that room, because I would like to shoot in there before I walk in. Silas activates next. He's still in the blue. He walks forward 2 zones and then shoots into that room, manages to kill the runner. He's at 6 XP, he's close. Baldric is up next, walks forward, with his free magic action, casually blasts the necromancer into oblivion, proving he's the best wizard of all, and then moves into that room. Samson follows him, moves forward 2 zones, searches the room, finds a dagger, finally something good, and then he takes the objective for another 5 XP. Zombie turn again, all the bad guys move forward, and the abomination turns right down the east street to get around to where we're at. We continue to add to this block party. The north street spawns 2 more runners, and the south spawns 3 more walkers. That's going to be a long fight getting to these last spawn zones. But actually, I have a plan for this. We're actually going to hole up in this building for a bit. We're going to search it. We're going to draw the abomination around the back, hopefully letting us avoid him. And then once we're all ready, we're going to bust out and make our way south. So everyone got it? We're going to come in here. We're going to be real quiet, all right? Nelly starts. She activates a trade with Silas. She gives him the apples. Silas needs 1 XP. The apples will give it to him. She then moves into the room and searches, finds a crossbow, another thing for Silas. Silas activates next. He uses the apples, goes up to yellow, sneaks into the room with the rest of my guys, getting kind of crowded in there. He then searches around and finds some dragon bile, which would be cool if we had a torch. We then activate a trade with Nelly again, gives her a short sword so she can dual wield, and he takes the crossbow. Baldric is up next. He's got very little to do except to search. He finds plenty of bolts, which is awesome, gives those to Silas. Now he can reroll those shots with his crossbow. And finally Samson searches and finds some leather armor, which is about perfect. He holds on to that. Back to the zombies. They creep forward to the center of the board again, abomination moving around back. In the north we spawn 1 runner, and in the south we get a double spawn. So back to the top, We get a necromancer, which means that he shows up with a spawn zone, draws a group to keep him company, gets another 2 fatties, and then for the final draw of that double spawn, we get an abomination, which means the abomination gets an additional activation, shows up right at the door of the house that we're hiding in. Uh-oh, time to go. So it's a round earlier than I would like, but with the abomination right at the back door, it's time to leave and go out onto the street. We start with Baldric. He starts bashing away at that door with his short sword, fails on the first attempt but opens on the second. His free magic action kills 1 zombie that we discover out there. Next action kills another one. Man, that guy has been rolling hot. 2 4+s in a row, 2 more XP. The street is now clear and he moves out there. Silas is up next. He's going to try out that new yellow experience level and his brand new crossbow with plenty of bolts, steps out onto the street and then turns north to kill off that fatty in the center. Then he wheels around to the south and takes aim at the walkers down there, rolls a hit and a miss, and so he uses plenty of bolts to re-roll both dice, gets 2 hits, 2 dead zombies, uses his final action to kill off the last walker. Nice job, Silas. This crossbow is cool. This is the first time I've drawn this piece of equipment. Unlike the Orcish crossbow, it does not have the reload rule. You can't use it in the square you're in, but otherwise, I think I like this better. Samson is up next. He dashes 3 squares out of that building we were hiding in. Down to the south, he's in a square with a bunch of zombies, takes out his hammer and the dagger, and rolls real well, kills off 2 walkers. You get him, dwarf. Finally, Nelly's up. She moves to the same square that Samson is in. She's dual-wielding short swords now, has no problem chopping up that last walker. So that was a pretty solid round as we go on to the zombie phase. Abomination chases after us into that room that we just vacated. The rest of the monsters close in. 3 walkers move into Nelly and Samson's zone. Go over to the spawn phase, and in the north, oh no, we get a walker activation. So 5 walkers swarm into the zone with Silas and Baldric. That's no good, but even worse, the 3 walkers in Nelly and Samson's zone get to attack. Samson's going to take 2 of the hits. He's feeling pretty good. He's got that leather armor. That with his Ironhide skill gives him a 4+ to save, but he fails both and takes 2 wounds. He's got 1 life left. Nelly takes 1 wound herself, which she can't do anything about. This got real problematic real fast. To make things even worse, now we go and draw for the Necromancer spawn zone in the north, and we get a runner activation. 2 extra activations in a row, so 2 runners sprint forward and join the big mess with Baldric and Silas. Finally, almost as an afterthought, that south spawn zone gets 4 more walkers. There is nothing for us to do right now but to try and cut our way out of this. We've been rolling pretty well so far. Let's see if it holds up. We're going to start off with Nelly with her dual short swords. Her first attack kills 1 zombie, that's cool. Second attack misses completely, not helping. Third attack kills 1 more zombie. Her 4th attack completely misses. Very underwhelming, also leaves her 1 XP away from going into the orange zone. That means Samson has to bat cleanup. With the hammer and dagger combo, he kills off that last zombie, goes up to orange himself. I choose the +1 to hit with melee attacks, so I feel like he has to go back into that zone to help out Silas and Baldric. If nothing else, maybe his armor can take some hits. I'd hate to chance it with 1 wound left though, but he does have 1 action left, so he can try and throw some attacks into this horde of zombies, and he misses twice. 2 dice needing 3 pluses. It's all gone wrong. I activate Baldric next. Baldric's been rolling pretty hot for me these days. Let's see if it keeps up, because I could really use it in this case. I figured that I'm better off activating a trade first and getting the dagger. That gives me more dice in the long run. So he puts the Mana Blast in the backpack, swings away with the short sword and the dagger. First shot scores a hit. I use it to take off a runner. Need to get those guys out of there first. Next action misses twice. Wrong time for that, Baldric. 1 more action to go. Kills off 1 more runner. So final activation to Silas. We've got 5 walkers in our zone. Unfortunately, he has no melee weapons. So he trades with Baldric. He takes the short sword and the dagger. Baldric puts the Mana Blast back into hand. Silas has 3 actions left, 2 dice, hitting on 4+ thanks to the short sword and the dagger. First action kills a walker. Second action kills 2 walkers. There we go. Third action kills another walker, leaving just 1 walker remaining. Silas kind of saving my skin there at the very end. It's still not great, but it's sure a lot better than it was a minute ago. Zombie turn, and we still have some problems. First off, Baldric takes a wound from the walker in that square with everybody else. The abomination moves into that same square. There was a fatty on the corner trying to work its way around that building we were hiding in. Well, now it's equidistant from the closest group of my guys, so it actually splits in two since both paths are equally close. Does not help. The north spawns 2 more zombies. The necromancer spawns another necromancer, so our bad guy wizard hops forward 1 more zone. And the south continues to flood the streets with walkers. We get 5 more zombies. Back to my guys, and we have a couple of issues. Number 1, Silas, Samson, and Baldric are in a zone with an abomination, a fatty, a runner, and a walker. Almost every flavor of terrible. We're going to start with Samson. He's going to get his dagger back from Silas. He's going to use it to roll much better this round. He kills off a fatty and a runner with his second action, kills another walker with his third, and then for his fourth, he gives the objective to Baldric. So unfortunately, he couldn't move out of that zone, meaning I've got to leave one of my other guys behind, because Samson's on 1 health remaining, and that armor isn't going to help him against an abomination attack. So friends to the end, I'm going to leave Silas in there. We're going to be Legolas and Gimli for a bit. He uses 1 action to kill off the walker in the room that we exited from, and that's going to be it for him. Baldric has the objective he needs to get out of there, leaves that zone, paying 1 extra action for doing so because we've got a monster there. Moves an extra space to join Nelly, and then he has 1 action and his free magic action left, uses to fire twice in that zone to the south, manages to kill off 1 walker. So now it's Nelly's turn, and she's got to cut a path, uses her free move action to hop into that zone with those 3 walkers, spends 3 actions stabbing them, manages to kill off 3 of them. That puts her into the orange. She picks up the skill Bloodlust Melee. But she doesn't feel like using that hopping into that spawn zone and into that big crowd of zombies. She's just going to take 1 cautious step backwards and hang out with Baldric. Back to the bad guys, the zombies continue to close in. The abomination finally gets to swing, punches 1 health off of Silas. Now all my guys have taken at least 1 point of damage. For spawns, our necromancer draws another card, and so he trucks forward a little bit faster. We get 2 more runners in the north and 4 more walkers in the south. So many dead guys. Back to my turn. Silas did not enjoy getting punched by an abomination, so he spends his extra action to move out of that zone to the south. For his third action, he takes aim to the zone in the north with the necromancer and the fatty, kills them both by way of the reroll with the plenty of bolts. Final action, he shoots to the south, manages to kill off just 1 walker down there, but that puts him into the orange, and I choose to give him 1 free ranged attack, which he immediately uses to kill off 1 more zombie. That crossbow is a problem solver. Oh yeah, killing off that necromancer meant I got rid of one of those spawn zones in the north. Samson is up next. He would also very much like to get out of that zone with the abomination, but he actually goes off to the right into that building that we just left. There is a fatty there, but he uses his dagger and hammer to kill him off. And then for his final action, he just moves a little further away. Should be relatively safe there. Baldric is up next. He uses 3 actions plus his free magic action to shoot 4 times into that southern zone, manages to kill off 2 zombies. For his final action, he gives the objective over to Nelly, just passing that thing around. Nelly is up next. She bloodlusts into the zone with the 1 zombie, kills him off. She could then jump into that zone with the spawn point, use the objective to seal it, but that's a little chancy. She's got 3 actions left. If she rolls bad and leaves 2 zombies left, she's gonna die. Better play it safe. She reorganizes her equipment, she pulls the repeating crossbow, takes her 3 shots. The first set of dice come up with no hits at all, complete miss. Her second one, though, does pretty well, kills off 2 zombies, and then she takes her last free action to move back into the zone with Baldric. Back to the zombies, Abomination continues to chase after Silas. The rest of the zombies close in. In the north, we get another double spawn, so back to the south, that doesn't help at all. First, we get 4 walkers. Ish. Then we draw another double spawn. Back to the north, we get 1 fatty and then 3 more fatties. They are really trying to put up a wall between us and the spawn points. This round, we're going to start off with Silas. Silas is in the zone with the Abomination, but he's going to turn to the south and kill off those 2 walkers that are blocking the path to the spawn point. He's then going to use 2 move actions to get out of the zone with the Abomination, but I'm going to go north. I'm going to go back towards Samson. That crossbow is going to do some more work and kill off 2 fatties to the north, and then I'm going to move into that building on the right. So that was Silas's 4 actions plus his free ranged. Baldric is up next. He's going to move 1 zone to the south and then blast away with his free magic action into that zone with the spawn point. Kills off 1 zombie, which puts him into orange. I'm going to get myself a free magic attack. That allows me to dump 3 more Mana Blast shots into that zone, and I hit all 3 times. Baldric is absolutely on fire. For only having that one kind of bad magic spell, he has been doing great. That leaves the way completely clear for Nelly to move into the spot with the spawn zone, seal it with the objective, moves back to where Baldric is at, trades with him, gives him the repeating crossbow, and she rearms her dual short swords. Zombie turn, all we've got are zombies in the north. The Abomination moves towards Baldric and Nelly. The rest of them just shuffle down that northern street. For our 1 spawn draw, we get an Abomination, so the Abomination moves into Nelly and Baldric's zone. I'd have to get past him anyway, I guess that's okay. I'm going to start with Nelly. We've been running away from this Abomination all game. I see no reason to stop now. She's going to use her free move action plus an additional action to get to the north. 2 more actions to stand in front of that final door, that final room with the last objective in it. Successfully cracks it open with her final action. The far room reveals 5 walkers, kinda crowded. The close room, we get a necromancer. Uh-oh. So joining the necromancer, that draw results in a double spawn. So back to the far room, 3 more walkers. We've completely run out of monster cards now. Gotta reshuffle them, draw our last double spawn card for that far room, and we get an Abomination again. Abomination gets another action, punches a second wound off of Baldric. I do not like this house. Baldric activates next, limps back to where Nelly is at. Got a bunch of free magic actions. He uses them to blast the necromancer into oblivion. Silas is up next, moves back into the street, uses his free ranged action to kill off one of the runners in the north, moves into the southwest house, takes the objective. You know what? I would rather not deal with those 8 zombies in that next room. I'm just gonna slowly back out, back onto the street. For his part, Samson just moves into that house that Silas just left, searches it, finds an invisibility scroll. I guess it's okay. Moves to rejoin the rest of his party and hands the invisibility scroll to Baldric. Back to the zombies, they all close in. The north spawns 2 more fatties. Not so bad, considering we ended up with a runner in our zone. Nelly's up first for the good guys. Her first action she spends killing off the runner. Won't do any good bloodlusting into that big crowd of zombies or the fatties to the north or anything like that, so she just moves to the room to the southeast, searches it, finds another short sword, and then moves 2 more times to the center of the table. Samson is up next, moves north 2 squares, and like a boss, kills off a fatty with his first round of attacks, and the last fatty with his second. Hammer and dagger are working out pretty well for Samson. Almost as well as Silas and his crossbow, moves north 2 squares, kills off 2 fatties with his first shot, and then 2 fatties with his second one. Having cleared that whole area, just steps forward 1 with no concerns whatsoever. That leaves just Baldric. He's got a bunch of free magic actions, might as well spend them shooting into the room with all the zombies. Ends up blasting 3 times, only killing 1 zombie, that's okay. Then moves north 3 zones to join Silas. Zombie turn. The 2 fatties in the north move around the bend. The giant crowd of walkers move out into the street, and the Abomination continues to chase after us. The one and only spawn zone in the north gives us a walker activation, so that crowd of 7 zombies surge into Nelly's spot. That's not great odds. But it's back to our turn. Silas has the objective. He's 3 squares away from that final spawn point, and we've got 2 walkers between it and us. So we're going to start with Baldric. Baldric very politely asks to borrow Silas's crossbow and plenty of bolts. Proving he is just as good with a crossbow as he is with Monoblast, he immediately goes and kills off those 2 fatties blocking our progress. Not only that, does it with a double 6. Baldric has been an absolute champ this game. That leaves Silas with more than enough time to casually walk those 3 spaces, uses a free action to take the objective and to seal up that final spawn point. There you go, we've sealed up the town square. I mean, yeah, there's like 7 walkers surrounding Nelly and an Abomination on the loose. But I'm sure the townsfolk can take care of that. We're on to the next town. So another successful game, another fun game of Zombicide. It was looking pretty scary there for a while. Everyone surged out and got in my face when I was trying to move to the south. That north always looked like a problem. But again, Baldric kind of came through with the rolls, doing real well. And that crossbow on Silas with the plenty of bolts. I don't know, real effective. Pretty much all my guys did reasonably well through the thing. I know there's going to be a game where it all goes wrong and I lose a bunch of people and it's going to be very sad, but so far, so good for the Plagsburg Petitioners. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, observations, or concerns, and I will see you on the next one.